There's a truth I've come to understand through years of exploring life's challenges and the teachings of the Buddha. Most of our suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from how we respond. Let that sink in for a moment. When I started applying certain Buddhist practices to my life, I noticed something extraordinary. The overwhelming weight of problems I once carried began to dissolve. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because my perspective changed. My actions became more purposeful and my heart lighter. These are practices anyone can adopt. Simple yet profound habits that guide you to clarity, peace, and strength. They're not about escaping problems, but transforming the way you face them, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Let me share these lessons with you, not as lofty ideals, but as practical steps I've walked myself, steps that continue to reshape my journey. I used to think that happiness was something external, something I had to chase. I measured my worth by success, relationships, or what others thought of me. And when life threw problems my way, I resisted. I blamed circumstances, people, even myself. That resistance only made the suffering worse, like trying to hold back a river with my bare hands. Then I started to explore Buddhist wisdom. At first, it felt abstract, even intimidating. But slowly, as I embraced the practices, I began to see their power. One of the first lessons was learning to let go, of control, of expectations, of the need for things to be a certain way. It wasn't easy, but the more I released, the more freedom I felt. Another habit that changed everything for me was mindfulness, truly being present with each moment. You'd be surprised how much of life we miss when we're distracted by regrets of the past or fears of the future. There was a peace I discovered when I focused on the here and now, and with it came a clarity that helped me tackle problems with a calm mind. And then there was gratitude. I started seeing the beauty in small things, a smile from a stranger, the warmth of the sun, even the challenges that shaped me. Gratitude taught me that life doesn't have to be perfect to be full. These habits aren't magical cures. They don't erase pain or make life smooth, but they offer a new way to live, a way that makes the storms feel less threatening and the path ahead clearer. Every one of us can adopt these practices, no matter where we're starting from. Today, I want to walk with you through these habits, not as someone who has it all figured out, but as someone who knows the difference they make. Let's take this journey together and learn how to find peace, even when life feels overwhelming. 1. Practice full acceptance. If there's one lesson that has profoundly changed how I live and face challenges, it's the power of full acceptance. Let me start by saying this isn't about giving up or being passive. It's not about letting people or circumstances walk all over you. No. Full acceptance is about recognizing the truth of the present moment for what it is, without trying to resist, deny, or distort it. And trust me, this is where real freedom begins. For a long time, I fought against life. If something didn't go my way, I'd stew over it, replaying every detail in my head, wishing it had been different. I'd resist feelings of discomfort or pain, hoping that by ignoring them, they'd magically disappear. But all that resistance only made things worse. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from what happens, but from our refusal to accept what is. I've learned that when we stop fighting reality, we stop adding layers of unnecessary suffering to our pain. Let me share an example from my own life. I used to have a job that drained me, endless deadlines, a boss who seemed impossible to please, and colleagues who always seemed to have their own agendas. Every day felt like a battle, and I resented every moment of it. My resistance to the situation consumed me. I'd wake up dreading the day, mentally complaining before I even left the house. One day I decided to try a different approach. Instead of resisting, I chose to accept. I didn't mean I liked the situation or wanted to stay in it forever, but I stopped fighting the reality of what it was. I acknowledged my feelings, observed them without judgment, and made peace with the fact that, for now, this was my present. That shift in perspective changed everything. When I accepted the situation as it was, I found space to focus on what I could change. I could set boundaries with colleagues. I could approach my boss with clearer communication. And eventually, I could make plans to leave that job for one more aligned with my values. Full acceptance didn't mean surrendering to the situation forever. It meant creating clarity to act wisely within it. One of the biggest misconceptions about acceptance is that it's weak. People think if you accept something, you're okay with being mistreated or settling for less. But let me tell you, acceptance is one of the strongest things you can practice. It takes courage to face reality as it is, especially when it's uncomfortable or painful. Acceptance doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing peace over unnecessary struggle. It's like standing in a river. If you fight the current, you'll exhaust yourself and get nowhere. But if you flow with it, you'll find the strength to navigate it wisely. How can you start practicing full acceptance in your own life? Start with small moments. The next time you feel frustrated, maybe you're stuck in traffic, waiting in a long line, or dealing with a challenging person. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what am I resisting here? Notice the tension in your body or the stories running through your mind. Then, let go. Release the need for things to be different in that moment. Over time, this practice grows stronger. You'll start to notice that acceptance doesn't make you passive. It makes you resilient. It gives you the clarity to act where you can and the peace to let go where you can't. 2. Cultivate mindfulness. Mindfulness is one of those practices that sounds simple but is incredibly transformative. The idea is straightforward. Bring your attention fully to the present moment. But living it, truly living it, can change everything. For most of my life, I wasn't mindful. My mind was either stuck in the past, replaying old regrets, or racing into the future, worrying about what might happen. I could be in the middle of a beautiful moment, a sunset, a conversation with a loved one, and not even notice it because my mind was somewhere else. One day, I realized just how much I was missing. I was on a walk in the park, something I used to do to clear my head. The trees were vibrant with autumn colors, and the air was crisp and fresh. But instead of enjoying it, my thoughts were elsewhere. I was replaying a disagreement I'd had earlier that day, thinking about what I should have said. Suddenly, I stopped. I realized I was robbing myself of the peace and beauty of that moment. That's when I started to practice mindfulness. I focused on the sensation of my feet on the ground, the coolness of the breeze on my skin, the sound of leaves crunching beneath me. In those moments, the worries of the past and future faded away. I felt fully alive. Mindfulness isn't just about noticing the pleasant moments, though. It's about being present with everything, even discomfort and pain. The Buddha taught that by bringing awareness to our experiences without judgment, we free ourselves from the grip of unnecessary suffering. I started applying mindfulness to the harder parts of my life. When I felt anxious, instead of distracting myself or pushing the feeling away, I'd sit with it. I'd notice the tightness in my chest, the racing thoughts in my mind, and just observe them. I'd remind myself, this is what anxiety feels like right now. By staying present with the feeling, I found it often passed more quickly than when I tried to resist it. Mindfulness has taught me to slow down and truly experience life. It's in the small moments, savoring a cup of tea, listening deeply to someone without planning my response, watching the way light dances on a wall. These moments are where life happens, and when we're mindful, we don't miss them. One of the most powerful benefits of mindfulness is how it helps us respond rather than react. When we're not present, we're on autopilot, reacting to situations out of habit. But mindfulness creates a pause. It gives us space to choose how we want to respond. If you're new to mindfulness, start with your breath. It's always with you and is a powerful anchor to the present. Take a few minutes each day to simply notice your breathing, the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. If your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back. Over time, you can expand your practice. Be mindful while eating, walking, or even washing dishes. Notice the textures, sounds, and sensations of what you're doing. Mindfulness isn't about perfection. I still catch my mind wandering, sometimes more often than I'd like. But the beauty of mindfulness is that every moment is a chance to begin again. It's a practice, not a destination. By cultivating mindfulness, we reclaim our lives. We step out of the noise of our thoughts and into the richness of the present. And in that presence, we find a peace that nothing external can take away. 3. Follow the Noble Eightfold Path. One of the most profound teachings of Buddhism is the Noble Eightfold Path, a guide to living with integrity, wisdom, and peace. It's not a rigid set of rules, but a practical framework that helps us navigate life with clarity and purpose. I didn't always understand this path. At first, it felt overwhelming, like I had to perfect every aspect of it all at once. But as I began to explore it, I realized something incredible. This path isn't about being perfect. It's about walking with intention. The Eightfold Path is divided into 3 areas: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Each aspect builds on the others, creating a harmonious way of living that transforms how we see and interact with the world. The first step for me was right view, seeing life as it truly is. It's about understanding that life includes suffering, but also recognizing that we have the power to lessen it by aligning with the truth. This perspective shifted the way I approached challenges. Instead of seeing problems as obstacles, I began to see them as opportunities to grow and learn. Next came right intention, a commitment to approach life with kindness, compassion, and non-harming. This step helped me reflect on my motivations. Was I acting out of anger or love, selfishness or generosity? By questioning my intentions, I began to make choices that felt more aligned with who I wanted to be. The ethical aspects of the path, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, were transformative for my relationships. Right speech taught me the power of words, reminding me to speak truthfully and with kindness. Right action encouraged me to live with integrity, treating others with respect and fairness. And right livelihood helped me evaluate how my work impacts the world. When I started practicing the mental discipline aspects, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, I discovered a new level of inner peace. Right effort taught me to let go of harmful thoughts and nurture positive ones. Right mindfulness helped me stay present and aware, while right concentration deepened my focus and clarity. The beauty of the Eightfold Path is that it's not linear. You don't have to master one step before moving to the next. They all work together, supporting and enhancing each other. Some days I focus more on mindfulness. Other days I reflect on my speech or actions. It's a dynamic, evolving practice. What I've learned is that the Noble Eightfold Path isn't about achieving perfection. It's about walking with intention, knowing that every step we take shapes the path ahead. When we align our actions, thoughts, and intentions with this framework, life feels more meaningful, and even the hardest challenges become opportunities for growth. 4. Contemplate impermanence. Impermanence, or anicca, is one of the most profound truths I've come to embrace through Buddhist teachings. It's the idea that everything in life is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent, not our joys, our sorrows, or even our very existence. At first, this truth felt unsettling. I liked the idea of holding on to things, of finding stability and certainty. But the more I resisted change, the more I suffered. Life is always moving, flowing, shifting. When we resist impermanence, we cling to what we want to keep or push away what we don't like. But clinging and resistance only create tension and pain. The Buddha taught that by accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and open our hearts to the beauty of change. I'll share a personal story to illustrate this. There was a time when I lost someone I loved deeply. The pain felt unbearable, and I found myself holding on to memories, wishing I could freeze time and bring them back. For months, I resisted the truth that they were gone. But eventually, I realized that no amount of holding on could change what was. Slowly, I began to accept their absence, not as something to be fixed, but as a natural part of life. What surprised me was that in accepting their passing, I found a new way to cherish them, not by clinging to the past, but by honoring their presence in the moments we shared. I began to see that impermanence doesn't just take, it also gives. It reminds us to treasure the present, to savor what we have while we have it. Impermanence isn't just about loss, it's also about possibility. Because nothing stays the same. Difficult times don't last forever. Seasons change, pain eases, and new opportunities arise. Understanding this truth has given me hope during challenging times. When I'm struggling, I remind myself, this too shall pass. And it always does. One of the most practical ways I've embraced impermanence is through reflection. Each day, I take a moment to acknowledge that everything I experience is fleeting. The people I love, the work I do, the joys and sorrows I feel. This practice isn't morbid, it's freeing. It helps me let go of the need to control and opens my heart to gratitude for the present moment. Living with an awareness of impermanence has changed the way I see life. I've stopped holding on so tightly, and in doing so, I've found more peace. It's like holding water in your hands. If you try to grip it, it slips through your fingers. But if you let it rest gently, you can feel its coolness, its flow, its essence. When we embrace impermanence, we stop fighting against the natural flow of life. We learn to ride its waves with grace, knowing that every high and low is part of the same ocean. This understanding doesn't take away the pain of change, but it makes it more bearable, more meaningful. Let me leave you with this. Life is precious precisely because it's impermanent. Each moment is unique, fleeting, and irreplaceable. When we truly accept this, we stop taking things for granted. We start living fully, loving deeply, and embracing the beauty of the ever-changing world around us. 5. Develop equanimity. Equanimity, or upekkha, is the ability to remain calm and balanced in the face of life's highs and lows. It's not about being indifferent or detached from life. It's about cultivating an inner steadiness that allows us to navigate challenges with clarity and grace. I've come to see equanimity as a kind of inner anchor, holding me steady when the waves of life threaten to throw me off course. For a long time, I lived at the mercy of my emotions. If something went well, I'd feel elated. If it went poorly, I'd spiral into frustration or despair. My mood was like a roller coaster, constantly rising and falling based on external circumstances. It was exhausting. I felt like I had no control, like I was just reacting to whatever life threw my way. That's when I started to explore the practice of equanimity. The Buddha teaches that all things are impermanent and that clinging to pleasure or resisting pain only creates suffering. Equanimity doesn't mean we stop feeling. It means we learn to observe our emotions without being consumed by them. It's about finding that still point within ourselves, even in the midst of chaos. One of the first lessons I learned was to pause. When something upsetting happens, our natural instinct is to react: anger, frustration, fear. But reacting impulsively often makes things worse. Now, when I feel those emotions rising, I take a deep breath and give myself a moment. In that pause, I remind myself that this feeling, like all feelings, is temporary. It will pass. Let me give you an example. A few months ago, I had a disagreement with someone close to me. In the past, I might have lashed out, saying things I'd later regret. But this time, I paused. I observed the anger bubbling inside me without acting on it. That pause gave me the clarity to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. The result? A calm conversation that resolved the issue without escalating it. Equanimity also means learning to see things as they are, without labeling them as good or bad. This doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop letting our judgments control us. For example, when faced with a challenge, I've learned to ask myself, what can I learn from this? Instead of resisting the difficulty, I try to approach it with curiosity and openness. Practicing equanimity isn't always easy. There are still times when I get caught up in emotions, but I've found that the more I practice, the quicker I can find my balance again. It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. If you want to develop equanimity, start small. The next time something doesn't go your way, maybe a delayed flight, a rude comment, or a minor inconvenience, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that this moment, like all moments, will pass. Over time, you'll notice that you react less and respond more. You'll feel calmer, clearer, and more in control of your inner world. Equanimity has been one of the most transformative practices in my life. It hasn't taken away life's challenges, but it has changed the way I face them. And in that shift, I've found a profound sense of peace. 6. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful habits you can cultivate. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from scarcity to abundance. For me, practicing gratitude has been like turning on a light in a dark room. It reveals all the beauty and blessings that were there all along, just waiting to be noticed. I'll admit, gratitude didn't come naturally to me at first. Like many people, I spent a lot of time focusing on what wasn't working in my life. I'd dwell on problems, compare myself to others, and constantly strive for more, thinking happiness was just around the corner. But that mindset only left me feeling empty and restless. Then, one day, I decided to try something different. I started keeping a gratitude journal. Each evening, I'd write down 3 things I was grateful for, big or small. At first, it felt awkward, even forced. But over time, something shifted. I began to notice more of the good in my life, even in the midst of challenges. Gratitude isn't just about the big, obvious blessings. It's about finding joy in the small, everyday moments, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your favorite meal, the kindness of a stranger. When we practice gratitude, we train our minds to see the good, even when life feels hard. Let me share a personal story. A while back, I was going through a particularly tough time. I felt overwhelmed, stuck, and unable to see a way forward. One day, in the midst of that struggle, I decided to focus on gratitude. I started with the basics. I had a roof over my head, food to eat, people who cared about me. Slowly, I began to see that even in the hardest moments, there were still things to be thankful for. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about holding both the joy and the sorrow, the blessings and the struggles, with an open heart. When we practice gratitude, we acknowledge that even in the messiness of life, there is beauty to be found. One of the most profound lessons I've learned is that gratitude is a choice. It's not something that magically happens when everything is going well. It's something we can choose to cultivate, even in difficult times. And the more we choose it, the more natural it becomes. How can you start practicing gratitude? Begin with a simple daily ritual. Each morning or evening, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand. Sometimes the smallest things bring the greatest joy. You can also express gratitude to others. A heartfelt thank you can strengthen relationships and spread positivity. Over time, you'll notice that gratitude changes the way you see the world. It doesn't erase life's challenges, but it gives you a new lens through which to view them. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you'll start to see what's already here, and in that shift, you'll find a deeper sense of peace and contentment. Gratitude has taught me that happiness isn't about having everything. It's about appreciating what you have. It's about seeing the beauty in the ordinary, the blessings in the unexpected, and the richness in the present moment. And that's a gift we can all give ourselves every single day. 7. Embrace simplicity. There's a quiet power in simplicity, a clarity that cuts through the noise of modern life. For a long time, I didn't see it. Like many people, I thought more was better. More possessions, more accomplishments, more commitments. I filled my life with so much that I often felt overwhelmed and disconnected. It wasn't until I began embracing simplicity that I realized how liberating it is to let go of what's unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. Simplicity isn't about deprivation. It's about intentionality. It's about removing the clutter, both physical and mental, that distracts us from living fully. When we simplify, we create space for the things that bring us joy, meaning, and peace. I remember a time when my calendar was packed with commitments. I'd say yes to everything: work projects, social events, even things I didn't really care about, because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But instead of feeling fulfilled, I felt drained. I was so busy doing that, I forgot how to just be. One day, I decided to change. I started saying no to things that didn't align with my values. I cleared out my schedule, leaving room for rest, reflection, and activities that truly nourished me. The difference was profound. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Simplicity also extends to our possessions. I used to hold on to things I didn't need, clothes I never wore, gadgets I didn't use, because I thought they might make me happy someday. But happiness doesn't come from things. It comes from how we live. Letting go of excess stuff was like shedding a heavy weight I didn't even realize I was carrying. And then there's mental simplicity. How often do we clutter our minds with unnecessary worries, judgments, and comparisons? Simplifying our thoughts is just as important as simplifying our surroundings. For me, mindfulness has been key to this. By focusing on the present moment, I've learned to let go of mental clutter and find clarity. Simplicity isn't always easy. It takes courage to let go of things, of commitments, of ideas that no longer serve us. But the rewards are worth it. When we embrace simplicity, we create space for what truly matters: connection, purpose, and peace. If you want to embrace simplicity in your life, start small. Clear out a single drawer or say no to one unnecessary obligation. Notice how it feels to create that space. Over time, simplicity becomes a habit, a way of living that brings greater freedom and joy. The Buddha taught that craving and attachment are at the root of suffering. Simplicity helps us let go of that craving, finding contentment in what we have instead of always reaching for more. And in that contentment, we discover a profound sense of peace. 8. Strengthen right effort. Right effort, or sama vayama, is one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path, and it's a practice that has deeply shaped my life. At its core, right effort is about putting our energy into what's wholesome and letting go of what's harmful. It's about aligning our actions with our values, not through force or struggle, but through steady, intentional effort. For a long time, I misunderstood effort. I thought it meant pushing myself relentlessly, always striving for more, always trying to prove something. But that kind of effort left me burned out and unfulfilled. What I've learned is that right effort isn't about working harder. It's about working wisely. It's about directing our energy toward what truly matters. One of the first ways I began practicing right effort was by being mindful of my thoughts. Our minds are like gardens. Whatever we nurture will grow. If we water seeds of anger, fear, or jealousy, those emotions will take root and flourish. But if we cultivate thoughts of kindness, gratitude, and compassion, we create a mind that is peaceful and resilient. This wasn't easy at first. Negative thoughts have a way of sneaking in, and I'd often catch myself dwelling on worries or frustrations. But with practice, I learned to notice those thoughts and gently shift my focus. Instead of feeding the negativity, I'd ask myself, what can I focus on that's more helpful? Over time, this practice became second nature, and my mind became a much more peaceful place. Right effort also applies to our actions. It's about choosing to do what's beneficial, even when it's not easy. For me, this has meant building habits like regular meditation, exercise, and acts of kindness. These practices require effort, but they bring so much value to my life that the effort feels worthwhile. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that right effort is not about perfection. There have been times when I've fallen short, when I've been lazy or reactive or unkind. But instead of beating myself up, I remind myself that every moment is an opportunity to begin again. Right effort isn't about getting it right all the time. It's about continuing to try. There's also a balance to right effort. Too much effort can lead to exhaustion, while too little can lead to stagnation. It's like tuning a musical instrument. If the strings are too tight, they'll break. If they're too loose, they won't play. Finding that balance takes awareness and practice, but when we do, life flows more smoothly. If you want to strengthen right effort in your life, start by reflecting on where your energy goes. Are you nurturing what's wholesome or feeding what's harmful? Choose one small area to focus on. Perhaps shifting a negative thought, committing to a daily meditation practice, or making an effort to speak kindly. Begin there and let your effort grow naturally. The Buddha taught that effort is the path to liberation. It's through steady, intentional action that we transform our lives and create lasting peace. Right effort reminds us that we have the power to shape our path, not through force, but through mindful, purposeful effort. And when we align our energy with what truly matters, we discover a sense of fulfillment that no external achievement can match. 9. Build resilience. Resilience is one of the most essential qualities for navigating life's challenges. It's the ability to recover from setbacks, adapt to change, and keep moving forward with strength and determination. For me, resilience has been a game changer, not because it removes difficulties from life, but because it transforms how I face them. I used to crumble under pressure. A bad day, a failure, or even an unkind word could throw me off balance for days. I'd feel overwhelmed and question everything. But the Buddha teaches that life is full of ups and downs, of gain and loss, praise and blame. Resilience isn't about avoiding these cycles, it's about learning to meet them with equanimity and grace. The first step in building resilience is accepting that difficulties are a natural part of life. This was hard for me at first. Like many people, I thought life was supposed to be smooth, and when it wasn't, I felt like something was wrong. But when I embraced the truth of dukkha, the reality that suffering is a part of existence, I stopped seeing challenges as unfair or unusual. Instead, I began to see them as opportunities for growth. Let me share a personal example. A few years ago, I faced a significant setback in my career. A project I'd poured my heart into fell apart, and I felt like a failure. At first, I wanted to give up, to retreat into self-pity. But instead, I leaned into the discomfort. I asked myself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger? That shift in perspective didn't make the setback easy, but it gave it meaning. I used what I learned to rebuild, and I came out of the experience more resilient than before. Another key to resilience is maintaining a steady mind. When challenges arise, it's easy to get caught up in fear, anger, or despair. But I've found that practices like mindfulness and meditation help me stay grounded. By observing my thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them, I can respond to difficulties with clarity and composure. Resilience also comes from connection. In tough times, it's tempting to isolate yourself, but leaning on others can provide the support and perspective you need to keep going. For me, building strong relationships has been a crucial part of my resilience journey. Knowing that I have people who believe in me, even when I doubt myself, makes all the difference. Finally, resilience requires self-compassion. There will be times when you stumble, when you feel weak or overwhelmed. In those moments, be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with the same care and understanding you would offer a friend. Remember, resilience isn't about being invincible. It's about getting back up, again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. To build resilience, start with small challenges. The next time something doesn't go as planned, pause. Instead of reacting, reflect. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger through this experience? Over time, you'll find that resilience becomes second nature, a steady strength that carries you through whatever life brings. 10. Act with mindful intention. Mindful intention is the compass that guides us through life. It's the practice of aligning our actions with our values and purpose, making every choice intentional rather than impulsive. This habit has transformed the way I live, helping me move from mindless reaction to meaningful action. For much of my life, I operated on autopilot. I'd make decisions based on habit, convenience, or what I thought others expected of me, without really considering whether those choices aligned with my deeper values. The result? A sense of disconnect and dissatisfaction, like I was moving through life without direction. The Buddha teaches that our actions are the seeds we plant in the garden of our lives. If we act with greed, anger, or ignorance, we cultivate suffering. But if we act with wisdom, kindness, and compassion, we create peace and fulfillment. Mindful intention is about planting the right seeds. One of the first ways I started practicing mindful intention was by reflecting on my values. What truly mattered to me? What kind of person did I want to be? These questions helped me gain clarity and start making choices that felt aligned with my purpose. For example, I realized that I deeply value connection and kindness. Yet, I noticed that I often got so caught up in work or personal stress that I wasn't fully present with the people around me. Once I became aware of this, I started setting the intention to bring more presence and compassion to my interactions. This small shift had a profound impact, not only on my relationships, but also on my own sense of fulfillment. Mindful intention also helps us navigate difficult decisions. Life is full of gray areas, and it's not always clear what the right choice is. But when we act with intention, we can trust that we're doing our best to align with our values. Even if things don't turn out as we hope, we can find peace in knowing we acted with integrity. Let me share a practice that has been especially helpful for me. Before making a decision or taking action, I pause and ask myself 3 questions. 1. Does this align with my values? 2. Will this benefit myself and others? 3. Am I acting from a place of wisdom or a place of reactivity? These questions serve as a filter, helping me act mindfully instead of impulsively, and over time they've become second nature. Another important aspect of mindful intention is letting go of attachment to outcomes. The Buddha reminds us that while we can control our actions, we cannot control the results. When I first started practicing this, it was challenging. I wanted to see immediate results, to feel like my efforts were paying off. But as I let go of that need, I found a deeper sense of peace. Acting with mindful intention is its own reward. It's about living in alignment with your truth, regardless of what happens next. If you're new to this practice, start small. Begin each day by setting an intention. It could be as simple as, I will approach today with kindness, or I will stay present and grounded. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Are your actions aligning with that intention? If not, don't judge yourself. Just gently course correct. Mindful intention isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware, about choosing to live deliberately rather than drifting through life. When we act with intention, we create a life that reflects who we truly are, a life filled with purpose and peace. And in that alignment, we find a sense of fulfillment that no external achievement can provide. As we bring this journey to a close, I want to remind you that these habits are not just ideas, they're practices. Small, consistent steps toward embracing these teachings can transform your life in ways you never thought possible. They are tools to help you navigate life's challenges with greater peace, clarity, and strength. Whether it's cultivating mindfulness, practicing gratitude, or building resilience, these habits are here to guide you toward a more intentional and harmonious way of living. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these habits resonates with you the most? Have you already tried any of them? Or is there one you're excited to start practicing? Share your thoughts, stories, or even your questions in the comments below. I'd love to continue the conversation with you. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. Together, we'll keep exploring the wisdom that helps us live with purpose and peace. Thank you for being here. Your journey matters, and I'm honored to be a part of it. See you in the next video.